The emergence of modern Europe was not born in royal courts or under hereditary rule, nor did it start with written legislation or official positions of authority. Its origins extend much deeper into the past, to an era when the continent was still marked by glacial influence, severe weather, and constant change. This formative period unfolded across immense woodlands, valleys carved by ice, and sweeping grasslands where human existence relied almost completely on the natural world. This is Mr. M. Historian, exploring how endurance evolved into civilization and how the roots of authority are embedded in hardship. Approximately 12,000 years before the Common Era, as the final ice age gradually receded from Europe, humanity did not step into security or predictability. Rather, they entered an extended age of adaptation. The environment transformed more quickly than societies could adapt. Waterways shifted course, wildlife migrated to new territories, woodlands grew, and the line between endurance and extinction grew more fragile. This transition was not a single event, but a series of climatic oscillations. Brief returns to colder conditions, like the Younger Dryas period around 10,800 BCE, interrupted the warming trend, forcing communities to continually adjust their strategies and relocate, preventing any permanent settlement from taking root for centuries. The individuals of this time did not view themselves as builders of a future civilization. They were not designing urban centers, nations, or kingdoms. Their fundamental focus was staying alive. Each day presented peril, and every winter held the possibility of vanishing. Time was measured in fruitful harvests and hunting seasons, not in decades or centuries. During the Mesolithic age, from about 10,000 to 6,000 BCE, European societies were modest and frequently dispersed, existing in a capricious world. Scarcity of nourishment led to famine. Disease could escalate quickly, and clashes with neighboring bands could erase whole communities. No formal protective structures existed beyond mutual aid and shared vigilance within a group. Without written codes or established organizations in this era, social structure arose from urgent need. Reliance on one another grew vital, while wariness persisted. People realized that solitude heightened risk, whereas collaborative work enhanced their chances. Working together steadily became their most dependable asset. This cooperation manifested in the construction of shared assets. Evidence from sites like Starkar in Britain shows communal efforts to build wooden platforms and seasonal gathering sites, indicating an investment in collective spaces that benefited the entire group and strengthened social bonds. Sustenance began to hold significance beyond daily consumption, particularly after 900 BCE, as people started preserving and overseeing provisions for lean times. Those who could gather reserves in periods of plenty acquired status, and command over food supplies gradually molded initial types of influence and community hierarchy. Guideship then was earned through capability and wisdom, not lineage or riches. Older members who recalled past crises, proficient hunters who could follow game, and those able to guard the settlement commanded esteem. This influence was utilitarian and direct, not ceremonial, especially in the later Mesolithic. By roughly 700 to 5000 BCE, as some European regions entered the early Neolithic shift, living sites became more permanent. Communities started to recognize the dangers of complete separation. No single group possessed all necessary materials. Some resided near rich soil, others close to flint sources, rivers, timberlands, or the sea. To address these gaps, bands began to barter goods, expertise, and manpower. The exchange was not merely transactional. It was a conduit for innovation. The movement of goods like Baltic amber or Anatolian obsidian across vast distances also transferred the knowledge of new technologies, such as advanced stoneworking techniques, which then spread and evolved in new regions. These initial trade networks in the Neolithic period were restricted and insecure. Crops were exchanged for implements, pelts for shelter, and labor for security. Mutual trust was necessary, though the potential for hostility always lingered. Nevertheless, exchange boosted interaction between groups and enabled concepts and methods to circulate more broadly across the continent. Mobility expanded between 600 and 400 BCE as frequently used forest trails turned into established passages. Rivers provided natural highways, while coastlines permitted extended travel. Through these links, Europe incrementally moved from scattered settlements to a faintly intertwined web of human populations. Increased interaction brought rivalry. As territory and assets grew more valuable, disagreements became more frequent. Hunting grounds, freshwater access, and arable land often sparked disputes. From 5000 to 3000 BCE, small armed bands emerged, not as standing armies, but as protective and sometimes aggressive units formed out of need. This competition also accelerated technological and social development. The need for better defense led to the construction of fortified settlements and palisades, some of the earliest permanent architecture in Europe, which in turn required greater social coordination and labor management to build and maintain. Armaments in this period were straightforward and functional. Spears, stone knives, wooden shields, and clubs were employed primarily for defense. Warfare was not endless, but it was an ever-present threat. Societies adjusted by fortifying their settlements, staying watchful, and training the young in self-protection. Systems of belief evolved alongside these societal shifts, notably from 700 BCE forward. When unexplained natural events like storms, dry spells, or sickness occurred, people sought spiritual answers. The natural world assumed symbolic weight, and ceremonies helped communities forge shared understanding and cohesion during trials. These belief systems began to leave physical marks on the landscape. The first monumental structures, such as burial mounds and simple earthworks, appeared. These were places of ritual and memory, uniting communities not just in the present but also with their ancestors, creating a shared identity rooted in a specific place. Over countless generations, especially between 600 and 300 BCE, understanding amassed. Abilities advanced, mistakes were recalled, and methods grew more efficient. Children inherited not just physical artifacts, but also practical wisdom honed by long practice. Survival became more systematic, and communities turned more robust. Though the Ice Age had concluded millennia before, its impact lingered in human conduct. People knew the environment was unreliable, that vital materials could vanish without warning, and that foresight was crucial. These insights kept shaping European cultures into the Bronze Age after 300 BCE. Later European civilizations, with their metropolises, military forces, and economies, were constructed upon these ancient underpinnings. Long before recorded history, forgotten communities laid the essential frameworks that permitted administration, leadership, and growth to evolve. The progression was not linear or uniform. Different regions developed at different paces, with innovations like agriculture spreading slowly from southeast to northwest over thousands of years, creating a mosaic of societies that were simultaneously primitive and sophisticated in their adaptation to local conditions. Modern Europe is forged not just by innovation and success, but by perseverance and adjustment. Its roots lie not in triumph, but in tenacity. The European narrative commences with everyday people who turned survival into organization and need into the earliest foundations of society.